The corona pandemic has caused us in education to really have to think about what we do and how we do it. We're no longer able to teach our children in schools, and our pupils and students are at home. We've never done this before into the scale that we have, and what we're trying to do is to consider how best to support distance learning. What I'm just going to do here is just run through really quickly 10 top tips for effective teaching if you have to teach at distance. They're drawn from evidence, they're drawn from the work of Paul Kirschner, and there's the blog post that this 10 tip comes from. Paul and Carl Hendrick have just released a book, How Learning Happens. Yet to get my hands on it. It's on order. It'll be delivered by people very soon. But if you follow him at P.A. Kirschner, he's basically emeritus professor in educational psychology at the Open University in the Netherlands, and a constant source of very easily digestible information that picks up the evidence behind key elements of learning. So he's 10. He was quite clear in the sense that number one is stick to the essentials. Conveying new information, new instruction is going to be made harder because of the distance in the learning we're having to do. In that sense, keep to the essentials if we are introducing new material. If we're not introducing new material, really benefit from the consolidation exercise that we can encourage. The retrieval of past information is going to encourage better learning. Forgetting is a crucial part of learning, but actually retrieving it is a vital element in our students and our pupils' progress. Number two, frame new subject material that you want students to learn in the bigger picture, really making sure that it's either linking to prior knowledge or actually it's signaling where it's fitting in a much bigger picture. Thinking about that is going before we actually engage in the online teaching will hopefully help position the learning for the students who are having to isolate it for themselves in a different context, not the classroom. Number three, refer to relevant prior knowledge students have and can look up. In the classroom, we're always ever available to nudge, to give clues, to actually provide scaffolding and steers. At home, students are having to do that, pupils have to do that on their own, maybe with the help of a parent, maybe with the help of a parent who's actually able to invest a lot of time in it, but more often than not, they're going to have to be developing their own self skills on this. Referring to prior knowledge, so signaling, remember when we did this, how did we do this when we did this before? Remember that there's a topic we're looking at and we studied it in whichever month. Think about how they could find other things up in terms of, could there be good websites? Could there be good reference? Could their notes be really helpful from what they've taken already? Where could they look up the knowledge that they might need to be using at the moment? Number four, communicate the concrete goals and or success criteria with the subject matter. If we're clearer with what we're intending to achieve and what we wish our pupils and students to achieve, they'll grasp it quicker. They'll understand the task, they'll understand the objectives. And in that sense, simplicity and clarity around the communication of these goals is vital. Clarity is never more important than in this online learning, I think. Number five, have students study a detailed example before starting the exercises. That could be a worked example. There's a lot of evidence behind the sense of how this reduces cognitive load. The sense of a worked example, maybe with a visualizer, maybe with reference to a YouTube that has been shown before of a worked example, can give pupils and students the opportunity to see in process the thinking and to have modeled the thinking for them to help them understand how to do this new learning. Number six, just over halfway now. So offer student support during practice. What frameworks could you provide, can we provide that can help pupils and students actually complete this new learning, whether it be a writing frame, whether it be the theories behind pieces, whether it be the key words, the vocabulary that's needed. What support can we provide during practice? Is it knowledge notes or knowledge strips? What could be used? If we're clear on this before we enter into new instruction, pupils and students will benefit greatly when they have to do this on their own. Number seven, Have students actively process the subject matter. Hearing it is one thing, actually engaging it is with another. So encouraging them to have conversations with somebody else, explain the what or the how or the why, maybe providing opportunities for pupils and students to feed back to you the what, the how and the why, the what if, the questions that cause them to actually wrestle and tussle with the actual subject matter that is being introduced. Number 8, let students find out whether they have mastered the subject matter. Give them the opportunity to create their own retrieval tests. Nothing like this is easy, but the opportunity to, over time, encourage that self-regulation, that way that pupils and students can check their knowledge, retrieve that knowledge, is going to help their memories as they go through. Number 9, provide students with adequate feedback on what they have done. A tricky one in the sense of how we do that, but providing opportunities to do that through whichever platform we are using is an essential part of the learning process. Number 10, spread the exercise over time. The idea of spacing, the idea of not all of short pieces over a period of time to break down a particular content or theory or concept, to repeat and gradually develop over time, rather than trying to bite it all off in one big piece. So chunking it down, spreading it over time, that sense of spacing is really going to be one of the pieces that evidence suggests has a lot of merit. So in a nutshell, what he talks about is, number 1, keep it short. Attention span is going to be limited. It's going to be far more prone to distraction. Number 2, which I think is really, really important, that sense of prepare well. Exploring and preparing before we actually get to the delivery. I think there's as much time, if not way more, in preparing well than there is actually delivering. Providing structure. Providing structures is supporting students' metacognition. How can they actually engage and complete this new learning, which for many will be a real challenge. Number 4, prepare the students. That sense of what is the prior knowledge they have already that they can call upon. What is it that their skills that they can draft on. Give short assignments before and after and require them to be submitted to you. That sense of requiring an expectation of engagement is a piece around the motivation. And there's a lot around thinking about how we can engage at a distance without those people being right in front of us. And the final, in a nutshell, he talks about is make use of the online resources available. Our job as teachers can be to signpost, to curate rather than create. That sense of saying, well, what is quality out there that we can use that actually is doing the job for us, and then make the skill that we can apply to it is making sure that it fits in a sequential order that provides opportunities for new learning as well as consolidation of past learning. So the article, here it is, I'll just go back up to the beginning. There it is, available on the website. Tips for effective teaching if you have to teach at a distance. Paul Kirshner. Very simple read. 10 tips that I think is highly appropriate in the current context. Hope that's been helpful.